Hello, and welcome to the Closer's Playbook, a podcast about selling your services as a freelancer. My name is Tyler Poole. I'm here with my co-host, Pete Beber.
How you doing, Tyler?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. Today we wanted to talk about change orders and how they are related to a sales cycle. So, Pete, what is a change order?
Yeah, so change order is, now you've given your proposal, which we've talked about in an earlier episode. So you've given your proposal, everybody's signed off on it, all the expectations are there, and we know exactly what we're going to be working on and the impact it's going to have on the business, what we're working towards, any type of metrics. Now, you've already started the project. Mm-hmm. Likely you've started the project already when this happens, and a customer says, hey, can you also do this? Or we want to make a change.
Okay.
So I suspect that a lot of people will just say, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. But you've already laid out a beautiful proposal that everybody's signed off on.
Sure.
So a change order, you should get paid for the additional or different services that they're asking you to complete for them.
Okay.
So essentially, a change order, you're giving another proposal when you've already started the project.
Yeah. I was going to say, this sounds like a service thing. Why does this tie back to... Why does this tie back to sales?
Yeah, so it's a good question. The reason I feel that it ties back to sales is because now something has changed. We did all this good discovery. Something's changed. Why has it changed? What has changed? And so I like to take a step back and do some more discovery. Say, all right, I understand you want to make this change. It seemed like we were on the same page here. We had everything together. What has led to us needing to make this change? And you might have to dig a little bit. Maybe not, because you've had a rapport, you're already working with them.
Sure.
But you want to find out what's the reason, because sometimes it's not necessary, for one. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's like, oh, you know what? I think there was maybe a misunderstanding, miscommunication. Actually, we're going to address that with what we've already done. Let me show you where that's at. Mm-hmm. Right? So it might have just been they didn't realize that something was covered. Okay. And you don't have to make a change. Everybody can be happy, and right. they go on. Other times, something has happened within the business. Mm-hmm. Maybe they've got a different system that they're going to be implementing or that they didn't account for. Maybe as we've gone through this project, if in your world with driving traffic to them, something else has come in, like maybe a new competitor just opened up down the street and now there's a lot more competition. They're saying, hey, we need to pour some gas on this fire. Mm-hmm. So you want to understand what it is, because you're going to give a proposal for that change.
Yep. And
you're going to say, all right, I understand where we're at. So you want to go back, just like when we did the proposal. Here's my summary of what we're doing and why we're doing it. Mm-hmm. Here's, if you're billing by the hour, here's my time and effort. If you're billing by, just a general service, here's the cost for me to do X.
Yep.
And then you put that back in front of them. There may be another negotiation back and forth, right? It's possible. You may have to go back and reassess timelines and say, all right, this is going to change the timeline. Now I have to do something different, so we need to make a change.
Sure. So do you, when this happens, do you come up with a completely new proposal? Do you change billing? Do you, do we come back to the decision makers and is the whole cycle start over?
Not necessarily. Okay. So what you can do, if they're asking for a drastic change, you already have this proposal, you've signed up on it, there's probably a contract in place, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, this is essentially like an amendment.
Okay.
Right? So we're saying, all right, we're going to amend the contract that we had with this change order, slide this in with the paperwork, we need signatures, and then it may change the billing because you're probably going to have to bill more for it. So you may say for the change order, you may even put in your proposals, if there's a change order, the change order needs to be paid up front, mm-hmm. or we need to address the cost of the change separately from this. Like, we're not going to change this billing. This mm-hmm. will be a new billing.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things to consider when you're working with a change order.
It's interesting when I think everything you've just said is good, but I think of change orders in a completely different light.
Oh, yeah.
I think of change orders as client A, we've been working together for 2 months, 3 months, whatever, and he sends me an email that says, hey, will you look at this? Let's say I'm doing SEO for him, and it's a local guy, and he goes, I just got a 3-star review. Will you look at it and see if you can fix it? And nothing to that point has been talked about reputation management. This is something that I used to run into a lot. And so when I think of change orders, I think of clients trying to throw extra onto the pile that was never discussed prior.
Yeah, that can absolutely be a scenario for a change order. Sometimes it's a change in direction. Sometimes it's a change in their environment. Other times
adding a service.
Yeah.
And so, how would you deal with, in that scenario that I just gave to you? How would you deal with that?
Yeah, I would probably say, hey, we haven't talked about this before. I think you call it reputation management. Mm-hmm. Reputation management isn't something that's covered in what we talked about. There's extra effort and time and different, tactics and strategies that are put into that. So why don't we talk about what that would look like for me to also handle reputation management for you? Would you be against that conversation?
Perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've had that. It actually happens a lot. It used to happen a lot more than it does now. But it's the reason that I've developed better proposals, better discovery, all the stuff leading up to the sale. I've had to get better at because of this particular issue.
And I think, getting better at your proposals, that is definitely, if you start to notice that customers are asking for something, fairly often, start to work that in. That could even be, you could even work stuff like that into your initial proposal. Hey, look, I'm going to add this as sort of like an if scenario. Because we haven't talked about it, but it comes up a lot, is reputation management. So rather than us having to go and talk about it later on, I'm just going to put it in here. And if we need it, it's here. Here's what it looks like. And then you set expectations up front and you go, hey, remember we talked about reputation management? I've outlined that on page 2 of this proposal.
Yep. Yeah,
so let's just go back to that.
My proposal now includes a section that this contract does not include these services, and they're common to, especially local SEO is a good, easy one to pick on because there's lots of pieces to it that aren't necessarily SEO but can affect rankings, and reputation management reviews is a big one, and it's not something that's standard SEO, but it's important, and nobody talks about it in a normal. If I sit down and talk to 10 SEO clients and local clients, nobody asks me about it until a couple months down the road when it becomes a problem. And so it's really important to put details like that into proposals.
I would even put it exactly that way to the customer.
And on top of that, like, it shows that you are an expert in your field, because you can go to the client and say, look, this is something that I deal with a lot. I can do this service for you, but it's not part of this contract. If you want to add it in later, we can have that conversation at that time.
Yeah. So I really like that, because just even the way you put it, to me, that builds some trust with the customer saying, this guy's done this a lot. This girl's done this a lot.
Sure.
This person's done this a lot. I can trust that they're looking out for things that might come up in the future that I haven't thought about. Right? If you want to really build trust with somebody, hey, have you thought about X? Have you thought about Y? Many of my customers, 2-3 months into our working relationship, they bring something like this to me. I want to be really clear. It's not a part of what we discussed today, but if right now you want to include that, you want me to include that in the proposal, I can. If you'd like me to include it as an attachment that we could go to if it comes up, then I'll include that. Otherwise, it would be a change order down the road where it would be a separate line of service that we would add, and there'd be a separate cost.
And it's really important to, I think, especially as a new freelancer, we talk about getting started as a freelancer, getting started with your first, 5-10 clients. And it's really important to do this from the very start, because if you've got your second client, your first client, and 2 months down the road, they start doing this to you, and you don't want to lose this client. It's a tough thing to draw a line in the sand, but it's also a great way to add money to your income by selling more services to your existing clients, way easier than selling new clients. So don't be afraid to charge for these change orders.
Yeah.
If it's going to take you more time.
Right. And that can be a qualifier, right? If a customer of yours is unwilling to pay for services, your time might be better spent with someone who is willing to pay.
100%.
So yeah, so change. I think that's a great way to take and use change orders. If you start to see that your customers are asking for the same type of change orders over and over, just build it into your proposal and into your initial discovery.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anything else on change orders?
No, I think that sounds
quick and easy this week.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, as always, we'll be back next week. Comment, like, and subscribe on your podcast and YouTube.